feel like a lot of the ignorance that is harmful to people is not from things that we don't know, but from things that we think we know.
Mm. So you're on your lunch break now?
Whatever. This is special.
Special.
How do I look?
You look awesome, man.
Good. Feel awesome.
Yeah, thanks for stopping and hanging out. You're
Do you have a question besides that one? Do you have a thing of the day that you want to?
I usually let the conversation partner choose what they want to talk about because it's usually a better, more interesting conversation if it's something that's meaningful to you. And it's typically best if it's something that you think is true that affects your behavior. So like if you found out tomorrow that it was not true, your behavior would change. Those are usually the better conversations.
Okay.
The more enlightening.
How about I'll just let you ask the question and then I'll answer it.
Okay.
I'm overthinking it.
What is the thing that you think is most true? What are you most confident in? A knowledge claim, a conclusion that you have about the world that we share. We can also do a can of words.
Okay.
You want to do a can of words?
Sure.
You've seen this before, right?
I don't know, but it sounds simple enough.
So pick a word out here. If you don't like it, you can skip it. Pick the next one. But you can define it or just talk about it however you want.
The word is ignorance.
Ignorance. Do you want to talk about ignorance?
Sure.
What do you think of whenever you hear the word ignorance?
Well, usually it's kind of used as a derogatory term, like you use it against people that you think are stupid. I think ignorance is nothing without action. So if you are acting on your ignorance, ignorance is something we all have. But if you act on it, and especially in a social situation where it affects others, then it becomes true ignorance. The ignorance we can all kind of sink our teeth into and point our fingers at. And then it becomes something potentially dangerous and offensive and gross and unwanted and all that. But, I mean, if you're just calling somebody ignorant, it's like, I'm ignorant. I'm ignorant of a great many things. But I try not to, act on things I don't really know anything about. And I feel like maybe I don't get called ignorant so often because I'm not exercising my ignorance in a public setting, maybe, hopefully.
How do you decide what you're ignorant about and what you're not ignorant about?
Um, well, one thing that's, I guess, is kind of a good one for me is like I'm ignorant about things that have to do with plants. And I work outside, so that's one that affects me. For instance, the other day I got poison oak, and I
Hmm.
work outdoors, so it would have helped me a lot if I had known what to look for there. Uh, and I'm also, like, a lot of people think I'm a professional landscaper or something, but I'm not actually a professional anything. I just know how to use the tools. So, uh, my ignorance of plants could potentially, get me into trouble, or um, maybe even other people, but I just try to, like, mitigate that by not getting into anything that I don't know about.
Sounds like reducing your ignorance would be helpful.
Yeah.
Uh, how do you go about reducing ignorance?
Educating yourself, and maybe others if you can do that sort of thing.
How would you go about reducing your ignorance about plants at work?
Um, well, I think the quickest way would be to ask someone who knows about plants to educate me about the plants that I deal with. So then I will have an immediate turnaround for working knowledge of plants that I will be interacting with. So, um, I think that would knock a lot of my ignorance down, because my active ignorance down, because I'm actually learning about the things that I might actually be relevant to me, and so then my knowledge of those things will be relevant to people around me, because if I'm the guy that's cutting these trees, if I'm the guy that's doing whatever to these plants, I should know at least a few things to keep it, you know, nice or whatever. So that would be a good example of that, I guess.
So you'd
Yeah,
refer to other people that may know more about the plants than you.
yeah. I mean, if somebody called me ignorant about plants, I would be like, "Oh yeah," you know. But then maybe they could tell me why, and they could educate me on something. I mean, like I said, that word usually is kind of a derogatory thing, and gets used as a slam against other people. And if you're going to use it if you're going to call somebody out and call them ignorant and everything, you should probably back it up with telling them, educating them as to why they're ignorant, not just leaving it at that. Because I mean, you can do that all day. You know?
Is there a knowledge claim or conclusion that you're fairly confident in that has to do with ignorance about general, like, humanity that is meaningful to you? Like, so, maybe like a way to reduce ignorance, generally speaking. Um, is there something that we could explore about that?
I feel like a lot of the ignorance that is harmful to people is not from things that we don't know, but from things that we think we know.
Mm.
Like, I kind of feel like humans are born with this kind of innate ability to get along and find ways to work together. But there's a lot of these really old bits of ignorance or misinformation or what have you that are still with us, that people cling to, and then those bits of misinformation or supposed knowledge get us into trouble. I don't think ignorance, the dictionary definition, would necessarily get us into trouble. If you wandered into a cultural situation you knew nothing about and you were completely ignorant of it, everyone there would know that you're new.
Mm.
And so anything you do that's kind of like, maybe uh, out of touch or, not with it, everybody would know why.
Like if you start a new job or something.
Yeah,
Mhm.
you're ignorant, but everyone knows why. But if you go into that situation and you have these things that you think you know, and then you have to unlearn all that stuff to get along with people there, then that's like this super active arrogance, ignorance that's like, not only do you have to unlearn the shit that you're walking into the situation with, but then you gotta remember what I think we are all kind of born with, which is that, you know, we know what we need to know to get along and be cool with each other. But, then stuff gets thrown on top of that. People get bitter. People pass that bitterness onto their children. People get abused. People pass that abuse onto their children. It's all things that get added on top of people. It's not, I don't think anybody, I mean, I don't know, but I think by and large people are cool until something happens to them or until they're fed the wrong ideas about people, you know. I think a lot of us go through our entire lives trying to validate our parents' bullshit. We're like, we take these apologetic modes of argument for our parents' ideas and things that they clung to that didn't do them any good or anybody around them, maybe. So we kind of like maybe internalize it or something, and then we try to rationalize it, and we carry it around with us for our entire lives, you know, like religion. If you're not religious but your parents were religious, you might towards the end of your life start to kind of rationalize it. Some of it might start to make sense to you, and then you feel this bond with your parents that maybe you didn't have before, and that becomes an emotional thing. And I think it's just kind of easy to track down where this stuff gets added to us and where these ideas get added to us, and where they came from. And so uh,
So it sounds like it's better, or it, not knowing and not knowing that you don't know is not as bad as not knowing and thinking that you do know.
right.
And people are generally pretty good and okay, cool about that. Um, but it can be harmful when it's passed down through generations. Um, is there an example of when somebody else was ignorant that you can think of?
um
You don't have to give any names, but like, and how it affected you.
well, I think we've all kind of stuck our foot in our mouths in social situations, like even a party or something, where you're like, maybe you say something that's not cool. uh there's only two things you can do then. You can double down and defend yourself, or you can apologize and live it down. But if you double down on your stupid, silly thing that you said, like at a party or in front of a bunch of people, and then you kind of make it your opinion because you're so defensive about your own bullshit that you have to, like, then make it a crusade, then, you know, that's, I think that's how it happens. That's how, like, people, I don't know, they feel like their opinion is important, you know? It's like,
So there's examples of ignorance, like when somebody says the wrong thing at a party or something
I've
like
done
that.
it before. I have absolutely, like, I've had people ready to just, like, throw me out, like, physically. And, you know, I,
Now, was that ignorance? Was
oh,
ignorance the cause of that situation?
I mean, I want to say yes because I don't want to think that I was trying to be a dick. But um, so yeah, I hope so. I mean, I think I can say with some degree of honesty that yes, it was in ignorance. So I mean, I certainly learned, and I certainly wouldn't do it again. So um, you know, I'm not going to defend my actions. I'm not going to defend the words that I said that were from ignorance. I think that would I guess that would be arrogance. I guess we're getting into different territory
Uh,
then. So ignorance is,
can ignorance cause arrogance?
well, I guess it's kind of a building block. If the situations I've been trying to describe require ignorance to get us there, then yeah, it can be part of the path to arrogance.
Mm. Uh, can I ask a couple of questions about how you would personally rate yourself on a couple of scales?
Okay.
Um, what what percentage do you think of all of your conclusions do you think are accurate?
Um, well, I kind of like to think of my conclusions as like hand grenades, not not darts. Like if I can get close and I can kind of steer the ship of my life in kind of a decent direction, then that's cool. But I don't think anybody should feel like they need to get everything absolutely perfect all the time. So your conclusions, I feel like if your conclusions, if you need them to be 100% correct, then you're possibly, um, then I guess the inputs you're putting into your ship's steering are going to possibly be more incorrect.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it has to be, if we have to go that way, we have to get to that tiny island that's 500 miles away,
Uh-huh.
then we better be dead nuts on, or, but I guess in my life, like, I can get to any old island. And I guess they're all, one's as good as another.
Okay.
But as long as we survive, I don't know, I'm getting way off track here.
So you're fine just getting to an island, not necessarily
Yeah.
one that you set yourself out to get to.
People, people who try, people who make an honest effort, and maybe um, do something meaningful with regards to living with other people and getting along and trying to help others be happy. Anybody that makes an effort with any of that stuff, I feel like is on the right side.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I don't really. I mean, you don't have to be 100% on. I mean, I'm sure there's people out there that think that they're just like doing everything right and just and and they've got that their intentions are good, what their actions are getting stuff done and everything like that. And you know what? Even if that's what they believe, but only half of only a quarter or a third of what they do is actually helping those others around them. I guess if they're not doing anything to hurt people around them, then it's still a net gain
Mm.
for the world.
You're saying as long as they're helping people out, it's okay if not all of their conclusions are accurate.
Right.
Okay. Uh, do you do you feel comfortable putting yourself on a scale from 0 to 100? What percentage of your conclusions are accurate?
I'm just going to go 50-50 and
50?
just hope for the best.
Okay. Okay. Um, so that was a question about how many you think are accurate. This question is, what percentage would you prefer to be accurate of all the conclusions that you make or have currently? How many of those would you prefer to
Well,
be accurate, like
we're
0 to 100?
we as humans have this learning brain, and so we're always learning. I think it'd be really cool if 65% of all the conclusions that I personally came to were absolutely correct, I would feel like a genius. But we're always going to have this huge unknown,
Mm-hmm.
and so you know, um,
You're fine with 65% of your conclusions being accurate.
right.
But if you had it your way in your perfect world, how many would you prefer to be accurate? It's about like preference, not actually what is actually happening.
I guess 65 would be a nice number because I you have to kind of live like you don't know anything. Because my mom used to always say, as soon as you think you know what you're doing, you better watch out.
Like overconfidence.
Yes.
Um. Okay. So is saying that you would prefer to have 65% of your conclusions be accurate, is that the same thing as saying that you would prefer to have 35% of your conclusions be inaccurate?
Yes. Because I think if you just kind of have some decent policies regarding your own actions, then you're still gonna come out ahead. But I think that's kind of a realistic figure.
Mm-hmm.
We have to put a number on it.
Yeah. I guess I'm thinking of it being not realistic, which is why that's where the preference would come from. Like, even if it was impossible,
Yeah.
you're saying that you would prefer that 65% of your conclusions are to be accurate,
Yes.
right? Okay. Okay. Cool. Anything else about ignorance, or any questions for me?
No. He was gonna pick up your camera, and I shook my head at him, and he didn't do it. Thanks, buddy.
Cool. Well, thanks. Did you want to give your name?
My name's Eric.
And you're cool if I record and upload this?
Sure, you can tag me on there. So.
Okay. Cool. Anything else? Any other feedback?
No, that was fun.
Cool. Next time, we'll do another word.
All right.
It's really coming down. Do you have something in mind?
Wait for the next person.
Awesome. Oh, do you have a name for your lawnmower?
I don't. I think I just call all machines Emma for some reason.
Emma? That's a good name for a lawnmower.
Hopefully she starts.
You could call it Jason. Like Momoa.